hundreds of English schools are still at risk from crumbling concrete. I'm going to read into this exclusive from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from The Guardian with the headline that hundreds of English schools are still at risk from crumbling concrete. The exclusive reveals that previously unpublished official data shows that RAC was found at 235 Department of Education sites. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share us across social media so others are notified of this video. So, the Conservatives, when they were in government, held back documents that stated that there were over 235 schools that were at risk from the Department of Education, according to the Department of Education. They withheld that information from the public to tell you that potentially that the school that your child could have been in had this Raac. That's basically what they do. So they knew that more schools were at risk, but they didn't want to didn't want more people to know about it. And we know that when the story and scandal came out, obviously many parents pulled their children out of school out of fear of not knowing. And then they got reassurances from the schools that it wasn't their schools. But something tells me is that there may have been porcupines, may have been told by potential schools from this. Or they were told to keep quiet about this, because it's very important that open and honesty, it really matters. And I really do hope that that the Labour government addresses this and cracks on with this. Now, they have, obviously, in the budget, they did allocate some funding, but it's nowhere near enough. And unfortunately, like with the Grenfell, it's just the problem is, guys, and I hate using this because I really have to keep stressing this, guys. It's going to take time. And I know people hate that. I know people hate saying, yeah, but these schools aren't safe. They need to be fixed now. And I get that. But it's going to take time for the work to get done. But at least they are investing. At least they are putting money forward. Whereas the Conservatives, not only did they not put barely any money forward, but they've tried to hide it from you. They tried to hide it from parents. Tried to hide it from the public knowing about where schools would be having it. Unpublished official data here of RAC found at 235 sites. Not telling you the truth. Labour could have kept this hidden from you too, but they didn't as well. So remember that. The Conservatives lied to you again. How many lies do you need to understand that you just cannot trust the Conservative Party in anything? Imagine if your child had died from crumbling building in a school, right? And an investigation found out that it was RAC. But the government sat on that report knowing it was that. How would that make you feel? Just think about that next time you think of voting Conservative. So hundreds of schools in England are still at risk of collapse from crumbling concrete, according to previous unpublished figures. Official data from which the Information Commission Office ICO found that had been wrongly withheld by the Conservative government confirmed the pressures of reinforced autoclaved aerial concrete, that's RAC, at 235 Department of Education sites. Overall, the material was found in 457 government buildings, including schools, hospitals and prisons by August this year. It is the equivalent of one in 500 sites across the public estate. We know that there is an issue with hospitals, but now we're looking at prisons as well. Experts have warned that schools forced to evacuate children after finding crumbling concrete could face years of portable buildings and temporary classrooms after the previous government dragged its heels on funding. This is 100% true. The government was very slow didn't care, didn't want to spend the money to fix these schools up. They let them rot. The number of schools with RAC in which the Health and Safety Executive has said is now life expired and could collapse with little or no warning rose steadily after the Tories announced the sudden closure of more than 100 schools by the end of August last year. Before the election, the DfE was said to have refused to commit to funding or give any timescale for starting work. In her budget, Rachel Reeves announced billions of pounds for capital projects, including schools. The money included £1.4 billion to fund the existing school rebuilding programme in the 2025-2026 financial year, up to £550 million on this year, at 518 schools and 6 form colleges across England. But it will not fund any new projects. There will be a further £2.1 billion to improve the condition of the school estate of up to £300 million a year. A DfE spokesperson has said this government is committed to resolving the problem of RAC as quickly as possible, permanently removing RAC either through grant funding or the school's rebuilding programme. The figures also show there is a crumbling concrete found in 48 departments of health and social care buildings, including hospitals, by August. RAC has been removed from a further 12 sites. There were 77 Ministry of Defence buildings where RAC had been found and 19 Ministry of Justice sites such as prisons and probation centres, while the Department of Transport had 58 affected buildings, most of them vehicle testing sites. A Labour source has said it is no wonder that shamefaced Conservatives didn't want the public to know the true scale of the problem when on their watch they allowed our schools, hospitals and prisons to crumble. Labour is investing in our country's future and will rebuild Britain. The ICO found last month that the previous government had been wrong to withhold RAC data, which was requested under the Freedom of Information Act. The RAC has been ignored by successive governments, but Conservative administrations since 2010 have drastically reduced the budget for schools, renovations and rebooks, making the problem more acute. Again, austerity, guys. They imposed austerity and they made lives more difficult for schools. Let's not ever forget that. Just they said that this article was amended on the 12th of November 2024 because the headline and the text of earlier version referred to primary schools, whereas schools generally was meant. Just wanted to put that reference in there for you guys. But yes, the Conservatives in power basically withheld this information, withheld fixing the schools. And it shows you just how little to no care that they have for the future of our children. Now, while there are no doubt there are questions about Labour and what they're doing with education there, especially I know the complaints that people have about VAT on private schools and other things that they're introducing in this budget, at least they are putting money in. At least they are putting money in to tackle this situation so that kids can stop living in these portable buildings of whatnot and actually live in get their education in proper classrooms again. It will take some years, but it will be a step in the right direction and it will breed much more confidence back in kids. There is still much more work to do when it comes to the education of children. I 100% agree, and I know you guys will stress that in the comments below. But it is good that not only have Labour published this, but they are putting the money in to say we need to get this done, and we need to get this done ASAP for the future of all children in England. And I am very pleased that they are doing that. And hopefully, by the time that next general election comes, the next parliament comes around, the next general election, is that most schools will be in a much better place, and that Labour actually does get credit for this. If it all gets cleared, I do hope that Labour does get some credit for this. But what do you guys think? What do you guys make of the situation over in English schools? The RAC that was covered up by some of the data that was covered up by the Conservatives to hide from the public. Does this surprise you? Does this infuriate you? Let me know how you feel about it all in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Shares across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.